Hey, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to explain to you why all those test cases, all those test plans that you see people telling you how to write are a waste of space and what you should be doing instead. I'll show you a technique that is much more efficient, much more effective, and much better suited to Agile projects. My name's John Ferguson Smart, and I help testers become awesome Agile test automation engineers, and also teams become better at collaborating, at working together, at delivering great software. And in these videos, I want to give you some tips, some tricks, some actionable points for you to take away to improve your daily work. Now, getting back to test plans, what do I mean when I say a traditional test plan is a waste of space? In my experience, traditional test plans, the ones you see people talking about, the ones you see people describing how to do in great detail, they're an anachronism. They basically go back to old style siloed waterfall development. They're a throwback from the age of Waterfall. They don't apply well to modern Agile projects because a test plan, in its very essence, treats software testing as a totally separate activity, as a separate, segregated thing that you do with an analysis phase where you analyze the requirements. You've got a design phase where you prepare the test plans and the test scripts. And then you've got an execution phase where once your application is built, you run those test plans, you run those test cases against the finished software and see whether it's working or not. This is the traditional way of doing a test plan. It worked very well in the 90s. But in modern Agile projects, it just isn't fit for purpose. It's just way too slow and it allows too many errors. You don't have the luxury today of having 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months of UAT testing or testing after a feature is built. You just don't have that time. In Agile projects, things need to move quickly. They need to move fast. They need to get features out the door. Customers are there waiting for these features to go. You can't spend time after the development is finished doing all this testing. And worse still, if you do find defects afterwards, the developers have moved on to other things. So if you tell these developers about all these defects you found down the track, that's just going to slow them down. So this traditional siloed approach, which is what a traditional test plan is all about, really is not fit for purpose anymore. So you should forget about it entirely. But you know what is useful? You know what does help with an Agile project? A testing strategy. A testing strategy is not a test plan. A testing strategy is a way that a document, if you like, a living document that outlines how you intend to go about testing your various parts of your software. But more importantly, it goes about describing how you will integrate your testing activities into the development process, how they fit in the other requirements, discoveries activities, how they would fit into the other development activities, how you will merge your testing activities into the day-to-day work in the sprint. For example, a test strategy might talk about how testers, including end testers if you have them, are involved and participate in the 3 Amigo sessions that you do before a sprint planning, to define your acceptance criteria, to identify edge cases, to identify examples and counterexamples of how a feature works, and to give the team more clarity about what they're supposed to deliver. You don't do that as a separate activity. You do it as part of the 3 Amigos. You do it as part of a group. You collaborate together to give people clarity on what you're supposed to be delivering. And then you go and describe them in a common format, and this becomes a single source of truth before any work starts. So not separately, not a separate analysis of your requirements that turns into test cases that then you go away and test. No, what you do is you work together and you come up with a single source of truth that describes the scenarios that you are going to test, the cases, the examples, the edge cases, the counter examples, and gives people clarity about what they need to build. And then you can turn that into an executable format. That's even better because then you get faster feedback. You do that before work starts. So your testing strategy might describe how you're going to go about integrating the automation into the process. How are you going to automate those key examples into your build process, into your automation, so that you can get faster feedback. If you do this early, if you talk to the developers, if you collaborate with the developers, it makes it all much, much easier. Because waiting until a feature is stable and the manual tests are finished, it just leads to waste and delay. We can't afford that. A test strategy might also describe how you're going to build testability into the application, how you're going to collaborate with developers, how your automated tests will fit in with unit tests and integration tests, how you are going to do performance testing and so forth, when you're going to need. But more importantly, your testing strategy might explain that for each story, you'll have a specific testing approach that you will decide for that story, and you'll agree with the developers on the best testing approach and how you're going to go about testing, including automation. So it's a much more collaborative process that comes from this testing strategy document. It's a living document. It's not a plan. It's a strategy document. Literally, that's what the word means. It describes your strategy. It doesn't describe a particular plan. So basically, what the takeaway here is that ditch your test plans. Don't do test plans anymore. They are a waste of space and a waste of time, and they lead to the wrong outcomes. But on the other hand, a testing strategy document, which is a much easier document to write, incidentally, can be very, very useful. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this video. Thanks for listening, folks.